bitch don't know about Pangea.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Bite podcast, where we are covering the entire filmography of Nicolas Cage, whether we want to or not. Every single appearance, including a children's animated film of dubious popularity. I honestly haven't heard too much said about this one. The Croods. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined, not as always, we have a little bit of a mix up in the lineup here, joined only by Rich. Ryan hates kids movies so much he's actually boycotting and talking about unionizing, which we're gonna have to shut down as soon as humanly possible. But Rich, how are you doing today?
Yeah, we can't have any unions. Like we have to bust that up real quick.
I already reached out to Walmart to see what their usual crisis response is to that.
I think it's just they hire the oh god, why am I blanking on their name? Who's that private police that was big in the 20s?
Pinkertons.
Pinkertons, yeah, they just hire Pinkertons because you know the Pinkertons are still around, like
which is an absurd thing,
and that is their
so
only job.
crazy.
Their only job now is to bust unions. Also, this movie made over $500 million at the box office. So
really, that's fucking crazy.
I mean, it made enough that it got a sequel that we're gonna have to watch.
They got like a TV show and shit too, because I watched this. I forget where it was available without me having to purchase it. Fucking Peacock. It immediately launched into a fucking TV show about
on
Netflix.
So, they had like a 1-season TV show.
Hey man, like, you know, I was saying before we started recording for our regular listeners, I don't know what the kids are into.
Oh, the TV show looks awful. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. They have none of the cast.
Yeah, sure.
Like, God, they didn't even get the kid from The Office, whatever his name is.
A little bit crazy.
Clark Duke. They couldn't even get him for the fucking TV show.
Also, no Clark Duke slander necessarily, kid. I'm glad you know your worth.
Oh my God, it was like 4 seasons.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm sorry to the Croods TV show. I assumed it was like a 1 season, one and done.
But yeah, no, we're here to talk about the Croods, which was a 2013 PG rated animated film from DreamWorks. So it's still from like a powerhouse kids studio. Wasn't some sort of knockoff brand, clocking in an hour and 38 minutes, which honestly to me, only 8 minutes over our favorite runtime.
It didn't feel long. Yeah,
it went quick. So yeah, let's dive right into housekeeping.
Let's do it.
This is going to be a lighthearted episode. I think we don't really have too much bad to say. There's a little interesting things to talk about, but let's get right into it. So
yeah, but also, like, I just finished watching the movie, which is why I said, hey, can we start a half hour later, because I was still watching it. Could not tell you a thing that happened in this movie.
That's okay. That's why you guys keep me on the payroll.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh yeah, that did. Well, no, that's a lie. I can tell you, but it felt like it was like a lot of bitch. You know what I mean?
I mean, it was basically all bits. It's a road trip movie at heart, is what it is.
Yeah.
So first up, we have the directors. We have Kirk D'Amico or D'Amico. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I would go D'Amico. That's normally how that's pronounced in Italian. Like two
the double C's are ch sound though.
No. A K is a ch sound.
I knew it. I've known Italians with double C's in the last name, and it's a ch sound.
Then it was Americanized, but if we're going straight Italian, double C's make a hard K sound. K makes a ch sound. And CH also makes like a soft K sound. It's weird. It's like this whole circle of noises. Italians are stupid. I'm Italian. I can say that.
Anybody can say that. Nobody cares if you slander Italians.
No, not at all.
So Kirk D'Amico, will go with that, who has directed like a number of kids style things, including Space Chimps, Vivo, and Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. And then the other director is Chris Sanders, who directed Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, and the most recent iteration of Call of the Wild.
And he also did a lot of story writing and like production designers for the old Disney movies when they were still hand drawn. Like he did Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin,
Aladdin, shit
Lion
like that.
King,
Also,
Mulan.
also a shit ton of voice work during that time and persisting through to today, which we'll get to because he does voice work in this as well. So those are the directors, and now we got the writers, which is the same guys plus John Cleese. But let's give them their due. These are their writing credits. So for Kirk D'Amico, we have Quest for Camelot, Racing Stripes, which was about horse racing a zebra, I believe, another kids movie. Wrote for Space Chimps, the Croods sequel, as well as this one, and Vivo. Chris Sanders, who did writing for Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Mulan, Lilo and Stitch, also voiced Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. And then John Cleese, if you're not familiar with him, don't look up any of the shit that he said recently because his history is much more wholesome, working on Monty Python stuff like The Holy Grail, now for something completely different. And then sort of outside of the Monty Python exclusive pantheon, this is just a movie that your parents probably enjoyed, Fish Called Wanda.
I did enjoy A Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah. So again, don't look at what he's been saying recently. So a little problematic these days.
Editor Ryan here stepping in because they neglected to talk about Faulty Towers, and that's a show you should watch.
So for the cast, it's actually a really tight list as well because we have a very small cast of characters. First up, as always, we have Nick Cage as Grug. Next up, we have Ryan Reynolds as Guy. Ryan Reynolds, as we were talking about before we started recording for the primary episode, is an actor that is punching way above his CV's weight class in the minds and hearts of the American public. He seems like a super big deal megastar, right? Before I started diving into this, like I'd put him like on par as like Ryan Gosling. Ryan Reynolds is like Ryan Gosling. Both of their first names are Ryan, but when you start comparing their body of work, there's a big difference. So
Ryan Gosling is still doing like artsy stuff too.
You mean he's still he's doing big blockbuster films that are being considered for awards and shit like that. Ryan Reynolds, that's not his bag specifically. And to clarify, this is not explicitly a dig. Good for him and his PR people. Because like I said, I would consider him a superstar until you look at what he's done. But you would know him probably predominantly from Deadpool. He is the titular character in that.
But also, real quick shout out to Ryan Gosling, who again, and now shout out to one of our Patreon listeners who has only seen 9 movies, and one of those movies stars Ryan Gosling, which is Crazy Stupid Love.
There you go.
Also, if you haven't seen The Good Guys, watch it. It's a banger of a movie.
So so Ryan Reynolds, known primarily for Deadpool these days. He's also known for a number of AstroTurf Netflix duds, such as Red Notice, The Atom Project, which I'm not sure if that was a theatrical release or a Netflix original. It doesn't really matter. 6 Underground. To get into some better stuff, he was in Blade Trinity, which was the weakest of the Blade movies, but
it's still a Blade
anyway.
Movie.
Mississippi Grind, which Rich and I both like because we're suckers for gambling movies, but also that's a good flick in general. Safe House, which was predominantly carried by Denzel Washington, otherwise a formulaic spy thriller. He was in R.I.P.D., which was primarily carried by Jeff Bridges and is an otherwise sort of Men in Black kind of ripoff.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu, he voiced Pikachu, so that's one of a number of bit roles he's had where it's not really Ryan Reynolds so much as like a bit character. He was also in Bullet Train, in which he had no actual dialogue and about 2.5 seconds of screen time. So yeah.
And I'll shout out I enjoy The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds.
He was also Waiting, Van Wilder,
Smoking Aces was the other one I was going to shout out.
Smoking Aces. That is another one.
Smoking Ace, because it's got Jeremy Piven just doing coke the whole time. It's about like 9 groups of people trying to kill him. It has everything you'd want, basically killing Jeremy Piven.
Fair enough. So, but yeah, I mean, again, he's been in some good stuff, but I feel like in the minds and hearts of viewers, he stands larger than his collective body of work might necessarily qualify him for. So good on you, Ryan Reynolds. Hope you're doing well.
I hope Wrexham is gonna get promoted again, because it'd be fun.
It would be fun.
Editor Ryan back again to shed a little bit of light on why Ryan Reynolds is famous. It's 81 episodes of 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place. It's a bad show. Everybody loved it. It's about it.
So next up, we have Emma Stone as Eep. Emma Stone, speaking of Ryan Gosling, starring opposite him in La La Land. She was in Easy A, the Amazing Spider-Man movies as Gwen Stacy.
Also, again, we'll shout out Crazy Stupid Love because she's there.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. She was also in Zombieland. She was also in Superbad. She was in a bunch of stuff.
And I will shout out The Rocker, which is one of my favorite just awful movies.
There you go. We love our trash on this podcast.
Yeah, and it is trash.
I'll have to check that out. I love some good trash. Next up, we have Catherine Keener as Uga. Catherine Keener has been in 100,000 things. I love when I run into somebody like Catherine Keener in our housekeeping, because I can just list the movies off the top of my head that I've seen her in and loved, including Being John Malkovich, Death to Smoochie, Get Out, Capote, 40-Year-Old Virgin, which is a little bit of a standout as far as being outside the tone of the shit that she usually does, but always solid to see Catherine Keener in a flick.
And I'm just going to tie this around to another movie that we had to watch. Well, number one, she had a cameo in Adaptation.
I fucking know.
And she also is in another Charlie Kaufman movie, Synchronicity New York.
There you go.
Yeah, which is, we do not stand Charlie Kaufman on this podcast.
That's primarily my fault. So direct your hate mail towards me.
Well, it's fun. I was talking to somebody today who had a wildly different take on Charlie Kaufman. She was like, "Oh my God, I love him. I love all his movies." I'm just like, why?
What was the defense?
She was like, he's just one of my favorite writers. I fucking love Adaptation. I'm like, I do too, but it was for Nick Cage, not for Charlie Kaufman ruining this poor woman's life for like a decade because she had to go around and assure people that she was not doing weird drugs and fucking a Florida man.
Yeah. I stand by my criticism of Adaptation. If you haven't listened to those episodes, go for it. Go
back and listen to them. And she's going to be in the new Joker too. Didn't even know that.
Oh, good for her. So next up, we have Cloris Leachman as Gran, Cloris Leachman has been around for fucking forever. I'm going to name the earlier shit that she's been in, including some of my favorite weird stuff that she's been in, because she's Cloris fucking Leachman. She can do whatever she wants. So she was in Spanglish. She was in Young Frankenstein, very famously as Frau Brücke. She was in Scary Movie 4, which is hilarious to me. She was in Lake Placid 2, which is also hilarious to me. And then probably the thing most people in our general age bracket would probably remember seeing her first in was the Beverly Hillbillies, if you didn't get caught by the Young Frankenstein one. So, but she has literally been acting since 2 years before my dad was born, which is a long fucking time, people.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorites, again, one of my favorite trash movies, Beer Fest.
That's right. She was the granny in Beer Fest. I forgot about
trash movie. Fucking love it.
Well, the Broken Lizard crew or whatever usually puts out real funny shit. So I'll give them that one.
Yeah, she died recently too. So RIP to a real one.
God damn, I'm actually surprised to learn that. I thought she was still kicking around doing goofy movies.
No, she died back in 2021, I think. Yeah, 2021.
Rip to a real one.
Oh, yeah.
So next up, we have Clark Duke as Thunk. Clark, I know primarily from The Office, the later seasons, but he was also in Sex Drive. He was in Kick-Ass 2.
He was in Kick-Ass 1 too. He
was
in
Kick-Ass 1 as well. It was what's his name? Evan Peters that they replaced in the second one.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. And he was also in Hot Tub Time Machine.
Which is again the movie I was going to
I know.
Again, one of my favorite pieces of trash.
Next up, we have Chris Sanders, our writer and director, as Belt, who's done a shit ton of voice acting work. He was Tarzan, he was Stitch in Lilo and Stitch, he was a penguin in Penguins of Madagascar, and he has shown up to reprise his role as Stitch in all of the Kingdom Hearts games, so far as I can tell. So shout out to all of my nerds like me who enjoyed the Kingdom Hearts games.
I mean, who didn't? It's Final Fantasy, but you're Mickey. It's great.
Yep.
Well, you're not Mickey. You're Donald and Goofy, and then a kid with a Keyblade.
And Mickey's around, and I think you do play as him in a couple of fights across the games.
But I only played the first 3, so I think after the third one, where they make you play 2 hours as this character that doesn't matter, I was like, you know what? I think I'm good on this.
And then my last shout out is Randy Thom, I'm not entirely sure, as Sandy, which is the feral baby that doesn't actually say anything, mostly growls. But he's primarily done sound department work on a lot of films, but he's done a lot of additional voice work in a ton of animated films such as Rio 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Ice Age, like a bunch of Ice Age shit, and Vivo. So just sort of like an all-around
sound dude.
Yep, 100%, which is cool. You know what else is cool, or rather not cool? Advertisements, which, by the way, full critique of the algorithm, because I recently listened to you and Ryan review My Wedding, which was delightful. My primary complaint is that almost every ad spot we had a anti-Larry Krasner political commercial, Larry Krasner being one of the most progressive DAs in the history of Philadelphia, and it's all like racist scaremongering. It's like, Philadelphia used to be one of the safest cities in the entire world, and now it's a hellhole of crime.
Now Eagles fans
who did it.
Horse shit.
Yeah, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Philly, the city that was most famous for the fact that their fans would throw D batteries at their own players on losses? The fuck? Anyway, just because he decided to tell everybody to stop prosecuting like minor marijuana possessions, get fucked. If that is the ad that plays on this episode, please skip it and write to Google to say, stop. This is so dog shit. Get better ads, you fucks. Anyway, that's my bit.
Anyway, we're going to shit on our advertisers and now cut to break.
Yeah, no, fuck them. Until they're paying us to do the ad reads ourselves, fuck them. Whatever you listen here, don't buy it, especially if they're telling you to vote against Larry Krasner. And we're back.
I was about to say, hey, Josh, you know there's another way to skip these ads, and that's to give us $1 every month on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. Give us $1 and you don't need to listen to these stupid ads.
Yeah, and also I'll throw this in there just for fucking fun. If you have principles, if you decide to join our Patreon specifically to avoid advertisements shitting on political appointees that you find actually are doing good, send an email to our Gmail account letting us know that's why you applied, and I will match your Patreon purchase in donations to the politician that you're angry hearing anti-ads about. That's I'll go into my own wallet for that one.
God damn.
So anyway, now we can get on to the plot of the Croods, which is relatively straightforward. This is a kids movie, right? It's about what was the next step in evolution after the Cro-Magnon, the caveman genus?
Oh, you're asking me about science? I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be Homo sapiens specifically.
All I'm going to go is like, all right, you have the Cro-Mags, which was a hardcore band out of New York City in the 80s. So what got big in New York City after hardcore in the 80s? I guess like I guess
Post-hardcore?
like cop killing punk, like choking victim.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll go with the Cro Magnums evolved into leftover crack,
there you go. So
which is like their music is great. They are not, but
it comes with the territory of those kinds of genres. You have to deal with it sometimes. But
yeah,
no,
I have a leftover crack patch on my jacket I'm no longer allowed to wear because every single patch on is like, oh, this band's canceled, this band's canceled, this band's canceled. Sick. Can't wear this anymore.
yeah, you hate to see it, really. But no, primarily it's about a family, the Croods, the titular family of this film, going essentially on a road trip and learning adaptability. So let's jump right in. We open on the DreamWorks logo, followed by a series of cave paintings and some voice over narration by the character Eep, Emma Stone, who is a member of the Croods. So we learned that all of their neighbors died from the various horrors in the ancient world.
Of
It's
just
all kind
being
of funny.
alive, of like just being alive in 10,000 BC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like got eaten by this thing or just died because they got bit by a mosquito. Malaria, by the way, still one of the number one killers of human beings on the planet.
Yeah,
Top
we
contender
still haven't figured that one out.
for years and years and years, man. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
We've figured out ketamine, cannot figure out malaria though.
So the Croods, however, have survived because their dad Grug was both strong and paranoid in kind of equal measure. So Eep prepares us for this, telling us that this is the story about how everything changed for this family.
Yeah, really, this story could have just been about like a doomsday prepper in 2009.
It could have. And shout out, I thought this was a weak premise for a kids movie, but it actually pulled off the premise pretty well, even diving into some deeper shit as far as kids narratives are concerned, and I think it did a pretty decent job of it.
I agree.
So our first introduction to voice acting from Nick Cage in this is a great bit where he's screaming at a bunch of lizard things to scare them away from his family's cave, after which the entire brood comes out and they set off to go find food after spending 3 days in their cave with a boulder blocking the entrance. That's how they keep the bad things out. Grug calls out the family motto before they set off for the hunt, which is to never not be afraid, which is solid advice. That's very funny. So they find so all of the animals, this is the bit, because cavemen aren't really like cutesy characters. Kids movies need cutesy characters so you can move merchandise. The cute aspect of this film is that all of the animals are hybrids, like they're two animals mashed together. So they find a half ostrich, half ram type creature and decide to steal one of its eggs. Thunk is the sort of draws the short straw, I guess, and has to try and get the egg first. He gets blasted by the ostrich ram pretty quickly, but Uga and the baby Sandy manage to snag the egg for a little bit before losing it. Then Gran gets involved before getting tripped and having the egg stolen by these weird little weasel creatures.
Yeah.
Eep handles herself pretty well, snagging the egg and passing it to Grug, who tosses it over to Thunk. Unfortunately, in the course of all of this, they have awoken one of the predators of the region, this animal combo being part owl, part cat, predominantly cat.
Yeah, which was like weird because I didn't really find it to be like particularly threatening. There's a way more threatening creature later on that I felt, but I mean, we can continue until we get to that one.
It's kind of funny. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I found the owl cat more terrifying than the next one. neither here nor there at this point in the story. The family flees the owl cat predator by hitching a ride on like a woolly mammoth type thing, which is also running away from the cat. They manage to make it through like a thin crevice in a valley and get to their cave, where they share the egg raw.
Yeah, they raw dog this thing. They
in
just
a kind of like funny
crack it
scene.
and drink it.
Yeah, like where like I think they give it to Thunk and Thunk drops it, which like makes a little crack on the bottom. So then they pass it around, drinking out of the little crack, until it gets back to Grug, where there's only like a single drop of egg left, and he's like, "That's fine. I ate last week," which is kind of funny. Yeah.
For a much better egg yolk scene in a film, please watch Tempopo. This has been Editor Ryan.
They then head back into the cave to hunker down for the night. Basically, when the sun goes down, things get way more dangerous.
Right.
So,
they are very afraid of the dark.
They're afraid of everything. The motto is never
Always be scared.
So Eep is really chafing under the constant paranoia. So she hears some noises as, like last call to get into the cave is sounded by Grug, and she climbs up the cliff face to try and go investigate. Unfortunately, the owl cat shows up in the family's valley at this point, and Eep barely makes it back in time before Grug closes the mouth of the cave with a boulder, saving them all from the owl cat.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like this did a very good job of kind of establishing who these characters are very quickly. Like, you have Nick Cage's character, who's like the patriarch, big, strong, and scared of everything. You have the dumb son. You have the daughter, who is like a rebel. You have the crazy grandma, the supportive wife, and the completely out of her mind feral baby.
The feral
which
baby.
is I enjoyed the feral baby bit.
It was a solid bit. Also, because I failed to make mention of it in my notes, I'll throw it out now so we remember to refer back to it when we get to the parts where it comes up. The Gran is Ugga's mother, meaning she's Grug's mother-in-law, and he fucking hates her. I mean, hates her to like the I wish she would die. Like every time he
counts them,
yeah,
he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
It's just so angry that nothing ate her.
It's funny. It's a solid bit that they keep going back to. So they've made it safely back to the cave, and it's time for one of the few bits of entertainment that they get, which is story time. And Grug is a masterful storyteller as far as they're concerned. They don't have a lot of general experience with it. And Grug, like most commercial storytellers, has a formula that he sticks to because it works. So Grug, after scolding Eep for barely making it back to the cave in time and kind of putting everybody in danger, she goes off to sulk while Grug tells story time. The story is about Crispy Bear, which is also a toy, and I'm not sure if this is actually the literal corpse of something, but I think it is.
I think it is
makes
as well.
It extra funny because it's like a hand-me-down toy from Eep to Sandy, the feral baby.
Yeah.
But Grug's story is about how Crispy Bear got curious, climbed to the top of a tree because it heard something, saw something new, and then died.
died immediately. Yeah. Died from the shock of seeing something new.
And it always ends, because Grug actually is a pretty masterful cave painter. It always ends like he does a relatively solid drawing, and it ends with him just slapping his palm in red over whatever.
Yeah, it's like, and it died
in the story. So everybody in the family except for Eep sleeps in a big pile. Very much reminds me of what sleeping is like for me with 2 dogs that just like to have no concept of personal space whatsoever. But
Yeah,
Krug
no,
basically like
same.
just piles everybody on top of him, and they all sleep in a pile.
Yeah, it's like a big human blanket almost.
Yeah. So that night there's more like loud animal sounds, calling sounds from outside, and this wakes up Eep, who goes and peeks out of the crack in the cave door, which again is just a boulder. And she sees light, which is understandably shocking.
Yeah, which is
for
weird, because I would have thought that she would have seen the Beach Boys. Do you get it?
There
Animal
you go.
sounds. You get
There
it?
you go. There you
Or
go.
is that pet sound? I don't fucking know. It's a fucking Beach Boys. Who cares?
So she sees this light shining through the crack and then disappearing. And this, of course, prompts her to go investigate, right? The point here, it's done in a show don't tell scenario. But basically fire is a foreign concept, which we get to see demonstrated in hilarious fashion later. But she manages to move the boulder just enough for her to sneak out and chase this mysterious light. So she finally catches up to the light and sees it is a torch planted by a rock, and there's embers floating through the air. So as Eep is like pondering this torch and what it is, a completely foreign object to her, there is a figure dressed in sort of animal armor. If you're like a Monster Hunter fan, it's sort of like that. Like the helmet is a big boar's head, but it's clearly on a person. This figure stalks like directly behind her in comical fashion, like retreating when she goes to turn around and stuff like that. But eventually, Eep spots him, gets startled, and Eep hits him with a rock. At this point, Grug wakes up and notices that Eep is missing and that the boulder is slightly displaced, and he goes looking for her. We cut back to Eep at this point, and the torch starts to go out, and the individual in the boar armor, now without the mask on, goes over to the torch, blows on it to revive the fire. He, in fact, I think says explicitly, "It's dying, let me fix it," and gets it back going, which
Right, and she thinks it's like alive.
Yes, specifically because he's saying it's dying, let me help it. And then there is a funny bit where right after he says, this is fire, I make it, she picks him up, starts shaking him like fire's gonna drop out from him, like make me some, squeezes him too hard, like knocks him out, basically.
Yeah, the whole point of her not understanding fire is very fun. Like she calls it the sun, and yeah, it's a fun bit.
He does also introduce himself as Guy. This is the character voiced by Ryan Reynolds. And he has a pet sloth named Belt, who holds up his pants and does a number of other things, despite, not being able to speak explicitly. Just a bunch of cute sounds that kids like. And it is a pretty cute
sloth
animation. Yeah. So Guy explains to Eve that the world is ending, and he's traveling to get to high ground in order to survive.
And it took me longer than I care to admit to realize what was happening.
The shifting of the continents.
Yeah, that it's like Pangea breaking up. It took.
Don't know about Pangea.
This bitch don't know about Pangea. Do you fuck with the war? All right, this is now a Little Dicky podcast, actually.
There you go.
We're just going to talk about Pillow Talk.
One of the best songs on that album, specifically. But anyway.
This bitch don't know about Pangea.
So yeah, so he explains that he's traveling to high ground in order to live. This strategy of his we'll learn more about later. So Guy gives Eep a shell to blow into, like a conch shell, to call him if she survives this continental shifting that he knows to be happening.
Yeah, then she blows into it, and then boom, ads.
A little early, but yeah, we can do ads now.
Yeah.
Also, if it's shitty political ads, please skip them.
Skip them anyway. Who cares? Like, we get paid either way.
But who knows? Like maybe some amazing product is going to be advertised on here.
No,
Like
it's going to
gas
be true
station dick
crime
pills or something
podcasts
like that.
and like weird political shit.
Probably.
Yeah. And DraftKings. I'm really banking on that DraftKings money.
One of these days, man, we get DraftKings hats and bags and stuff like that.
That'd be so sick. We would just look like Garth from Wayne's World.
Yeah. Let us do ad reads. I think we would like we're fine with people's vices. We'll encourage people to gamble. But anyway, yeah, if you're not a Patreon subscriber, listen to these ads. If you hate these ads, for $12 a year, you can skip them. You don't have to deal with them at all. So consider that while you listen to these or fast forward through these.
See, doesn't your thumb hurt from hitting fast forward so many times?
How many dogs did you turn into mashed potatoes trying to do this while you were driving? It's just no good, man.
Yeah,
you can't keep hitting dogs.
Just go to patreon.com/NickCageFight and give us $1 a month, and you don't need to hit dogs anymore.
Yeah, think of the dogs. Ryan, when you're editing this part, clip in just like 8 seconds of the Sarah McLachlan song. It really, it's proven to drive donations, man. I'm just saying. The ASPCA wouldn't keep doing that shit if it didn't work.
No, absolutely not.
So, a guy disappears pretty quickly after this, and Eep is almost immediately discovered by Grug. They have to dodge the nocturnal predators on their way home. And when they get home, Eep explains about the boy she met and shows the family the shell, which is one of my favorite bits in the movie. They're like, something new. They grab it, throw it on the ground, and all stomp it like the fucking Office Space scene, like immediately before there's any explanation of it. It's so funny. The ground.
This movie's good. Like, seriously, watch it. This movie is not bad. If you have a child, like,
yes. If you have a kid, fucking throw it on. They'll be entranced, and you won't want to put a gun in your mouth while it's on.
Yeah, you won't. This is not G-Force. We assure you, this is not G-Force.
Not a single Black Eyed Peas song to be found.
No, not one.
Thing.
Which is weird because it's like this is 2013. This is like still Black Eyed Peas territory.
It is, and I admire their restraint for not putting that in there. Honestly, I think the bar is being lowered through cinema so much that I'm willing to give a standing ovation to any movie that doesn't have Black Eyed Peas or Imagine Dragons on their soundtrack, which is a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, I can't wait for another like 5 years when like the Taylor Swift thing is over and she's just going to be on every kid's movie.
Isn't like Taylor Swift music already in kids movies or no? Like I gotta give credit to the absolute massive nature of her stardom, despite the fact that it's just fully her parents paid to launch her career in Nashville.
Oh yeah, no, it was a good investment. I mean, my favorite
investment.
My favorite thing right now is all the Swifties coping on Twitter about her becoming a billionaire.
That's not the part that all right. Let's have a quick Twitter aside, because again, this movie is a little bit light on stories. So
yeah, and you are way more on Twitter than I am. So
there is a lot of weird shit. And also, by the way, if anything is going to put us on the map, it's going to be pissing off Swifties, because those people mobilize. I'm like, if the U.S. military was anything like the Swifties, the U.S. would own the whole planet at this point.
Oh yeah,
they are quick and merciless. But speaking of Twitter Swift discourse, the funniest thing that I've seen recently is she has more explicitly, I guess, signaled that she is straight, which again, with all of her albums and songs seemingly being about breakups and stuff like that with guys, I didn't know there was a subset of people who thought her music was queer in nature as far as like some of its messaging and shit.
Well, yeah, but wasn't there like a Jonas brother who was queer baiting hard as hell too? I think it was like the same thing.
Maybe, and I'm actually hesitant to even suggest that Swift was queer baiting in any way, shape, or form. I think it was just people reading into art in a way that personalized it, which is normal. That's a normal thing.
Yeah.
What's not necessarily normal is codifying it and finding like a niche internet community of a bunch of people who are under the same sort of like normal, I guess, daydreams that you put together for yourself to identify with art to make it easier for you to understand the things that are happening to you. But this group apparently calls themselves Gaylors instead of Taylors. And since she has more explicitly defined her own sexual preferences, I suppose they're having a bit of an existential crisis, which I feel bad for them, but also it's fascinating from kind of like a sociology standpoint. Also, as somebody who's into neither Taylor Swift music nor sports in any meaningful fashion, seeing the collision of an insane music fan base with the NFL has
It's
been
very
a
funny.
delight.
Also, there is a huge subset that I have seen of Swifties, like, because like the dude that she's dating is like, he's like a Hall of Fame player. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, right? He has a brother. No, I'm saying right.
Okay.
Like I'm saying that's who he plays for. He has a brother who is also a Hall of Fame player who plays for the Eagles. So a lot of Swifties have like gone to the Eagles side for some reason. I don't know the whole story behind that. Where like they're more entranced by Jason Kelsey instead of Travis Kelsey, and it's whatever. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's exactly what Philadelphia needs. More toxic fan base.
Hey, I am a proud member of that toxic fan base.
So you know better than most that they don't need fucking help. Refer back to the throwing D batteries at their own players comments at the top of the episode. Fuck's sake.
Again, the Eagles won the Super Bowl and some dude to celebrate ate horse shit
That's
off the ground, just ate it.
Where did you even find horse shit on the ground in Philadelphia?
What I'm guessing is that like in Philly, like they put cops on horses sometimes.
I lived in Philly for a couple of years. I did not ever see that. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Well, like it's for like big crowds and stuff. I remember seeing it because I went to like when the Phillies won the World Series back in like 2008. I went to that parade, and like there were cops on horses.
That's such a crazy thing. That we still have cops on horses, not shit that happens in Philly. None of that shit surprises me. But yeah, anyway.
Anyway, back to the Croods.
Yeah, back to the Croods. So the after destroying the shell, an earthquake hits. Just like Guy said it would, just like Eep warned her family about moments before. And the Croods all flee towards their cave as the valley starts crumbling around them. Grug barely manages to stop his family from running into the cave, I think by throwing like a rock at him or something. He does something semi-violent to trip them up, ultimately saving their lives because a gigantic slab of stone just crashes directly into the cave, collapsing it entirely, basically destroying their home.
They got to find a new cave now.
Yeah.
Which is his obsession. It's very funny. He has to find a cave.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the cave is the base. It's the home base. You need to have a home base. As any young child who has played stupid made up games in the woods when they were growing up knows, a home base is imperative to anything, even playing at survival. So the dust settles and the Croods look at their demolished home. Eep actually calls Grug over to see that now that their little like barren cave valley has crumbled, they can see there is like this lush green landscape with a towering mountain peak in the distance. Now, of course, Grug is immediately paranoid, suspicious, and not super psyched to see this brand new landscape because, of course, it is new, and new means dangerous and that you're gonna die pretty horrifically. However, the debate about what to do regarding the new landscape is put on hold because the owl cat has also survived the collapsing of this particular valley, and is still dead set on killing all of the Croods and eating them. So they rush to the edge of this cliff and leap off into the Green Valley. Everyone survives, including, to Grug's dismay, Granny. This is the first time we see the counting bit where he counts the members of the family, and when he gets to 6 and Granny's still alive, he's like,
damn it, so close.
So we see more combo animals at this point. There's a whole new set of flora and fauna in this area of the world.
Yeah, this is where it gets kind of like, this is we were talking, before we started, that I thought this movie was kind of very visually interesting, and this is kind of where we start to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Grug starts to carefully lead his family through this new and unfamiliar terrain. I thought it was really funny because it reminds me of when I'm playing one of those, like, so my brother loves shooters that, like, the younger kids with Adderall subscriptions are like way better than me at, and I don't have a mind or
you can just say
for.
Fortnite.
No, that's not what I'm talking
Oh.
about. The new Counter-Strike, which is, as far as I can tell, very much like the old Counter-Strike, or like what was it? We used to play Rainbow Six Siege. It's one of those ones where you get killed immediately from one wrong move.
Yeah, and then you just get called slurs like at least once every 3 seconds.
Oh, like immediately. But Grug's approach to navigating this landscape reminds me of the very ineffectual strategy I always have in those games, because he like takes 2 steps and he's like, wait a minute. Okay, let's go. Wait a minute. Okay, let's go. Wait a minute. Okay, let's go. And in all those games, when you die, you're done for the round. So like I'll do that for like 3 minutes, still never see where the bullet that kills me comes from, and then I have to watch for the next 5 minutes as people who know how to play those games continue to have fun.
Yeah, that's how that normally goes.
Exactly. So they stumble across a pack of monkeys that Grug attempts to use his scary dance that he used on the lizards outside his cave in the opening sequence. And this does not work at all. In fact, the monkeys just start punching him in the face repeatedly.
It was very good.
Hilarious. This continues until all the monkeys flee because the activity has caught the attention of the big predator in this area. Again, I'm drawn back to the comparison between this movie and the Monster Hunter games, because that's almost exactly how this plays out. The big predator shows up and looks like a saber-toothed tiger of some sort. I think it's supposed to be mixed with some kind of lizard. It's green in color and looks like an oversized kitten in the whole thing, which is why I'm kind of surprised you found this more terrifying than the owl cat.
Well, I mean, like, I think it was meant to be more terrifying because it's just bigger, and like saber-toothed tigers, like anytime you see them in a movie, they're nothing to be trifled with. So
I agree, but like the owl cat actually looked like the size of a house cat. The saber-tooth explicitly looked just like a giant kitten for whatever reason.
Yeah. And house cats are terrifying.
House cats are fucking terrifying.
Like whenever I go over someone's house and they have a house cat, I always make sure I keep like 10 feet of distance.
Well, I'm terribly allergic to cats in general, so I have to do that. But cats, because they know they could kill me without even expending any effort, for whatever reason, appear to love me, which is very inconvenient.
Well, yeah, they know that's enough.
Yeah. So the Croods have to flee. They run into what they think is a cave, but is actually the mouth of a whale that is just, for some reason, a quadruped on land. This is never really explained, but after they get swallowed, they all get blown out of the blowhole of this whale. I think it's Gran that dubs the Sabretooth the Chunky the Death Cat.
Yes.
Is what she calls it. And it's still on their tail, but the cat actually, the Sabretooth flees as the sun starts to go down. And we're introduced to what I think is the real scary thing in the movie. Probably the scariest animal in the movie, which is a flock of tiny red piranha birds.
Oh yeah, the piranha birds are fucked up.
As soon as the sun goes down, these little chompy faced birds like fly up in the air like a red tornado,
which apparently are called piranhakeets in the movie.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
Yeah, like it says that. I guess maybe that's established in like the next movie or the TV show, but they're called piranhakeets.
Makes sense. So like they take off into the air like a red tornado. They descend on like a mammoth type creature and strip it down to the bone in seconds, and they start to go to attack the Croods. Eep takes a moment, runs, and rips like a horn off of one of the skulls of the animals that the piranhakeets have just devoured and blows into it. The birds descend on the Croods, and Guy, hearing the call, shows up and quickly lights a torch, which wards off the piranhakeets as they swarm onto the Croods, saving them, which is really nice of them.
Yeah, dope move. Good job.
Yeah, solid move. And actually, I do think that's probably a good place for the cliffhanger, just because, like I said, as a kids movie, this is a little light on the plot, so we're probably going to run through the remainder pretty quickly when we don't have housekeeping and shit like that to do.
Well, yeah, because now kind of the road trip starts. Like we had the character establishment, the escape, and now we're on the road trip.
And the arcs for our characters at this point.
Yeah.
So if you're having a good time with this, as far as easy listening is concerned, it's a cutesy story. It's being narrated to you so you can, absorb this tale while driving. Please feel free to tune in for our next episode where we'll wrap this up. While you're waiting, if you get bored and you just need more Cage Fight podcast content, you can follow us on X at cagefight_pod. As long as they're not charging us for basic access to the site, we will be on there. Rich is going to tell you about our Patreon for sure.
Oh yeah, patreon.com/NickCageFight. $1 a month, less than the cost of a cup of coffee, will get you every episode without ads. And if you want to spend more money, you get more. You get bonus episodes. I'm actually like not even kidding. I finally chopped up the wrestler to take out like names and stuff. So that's going to go up, and it's like a 4-hour episode. So enjoy that. I'm not even going to cut it down. Like you're going to sit there and listen while you grind out like, I don't know, WoW Classic Plus comes out in a month and play that, I guess.
Wait, what does the plus stand for?
They're like adding new it's cool. They're adding new content. They're putting a level cap of level 25 and doing like a level 25 raid.
Huh.
And then they're gonna up the cap every few months. They're making it so that like different classes can do different things. Like apparently there's gonna be like a warlock tank and a mage healer. And I think they're gonna do like a mage like melee DPS kind of thing.
That actually sounds kind of interesting. I never want to touch that game again, but that's tempting.
I mean, I played Classic, and I'm currently playing one of the private servers. So very, very excited. So yeah, listen to the wrestler while you grind out to level 25. It'll take you about the same amount of time.
There you go. That's a fucking sales pitch right there.
Yeah, and Blizzard didn't even pay me, so I guess pay me, Blizzard.
Yeah, where's our fucking money? So yeah, there you go. Those are the plugs. Join us next time. We'll wrap up the Croods, and you'll get to hear what we're going to be reviewing next. Oh, also, real quick, if you're an uncle, you can find us on Facebook.
Yeah, but uncles only, as
uncles
always.
Only. But yeah, that'll do it for us now. As always, listeners, we appreciate you.